Hello, and today I'm doing a video based on the SAA tutorial that we've just had today, and it were a pen and wash tutorial, very interesting. A French village. That was a drawing that I made from the reference image, and I've now transferred it onto a piece of watercolour. So what I will now do from here on is uh, write out the pen work that needs doing. I'm not going to be doing lots of pen work, but I'll do the permanent pen work first, and then we'll put some wash of watercolour over it, and then we'll use some um, water-based or water-soluble pen work to finish it off, tonally speaking. So hopefully that's the project, and you'll enjoy it, and I'll enjoy it as well. I'll be using these Faber-Castell Pitt pens, the Indian ink, and waterproof when dry. So that's what we want for this line work. But I'll have a look at which pen. I'll probably go for the very finest one. So I'll use those. So using the fine nib on this pen, I'm just going to draw around the line work that I've already projected from that drawing onto this watercolour paper. I don't want to be doing too much drawing on watercolour paper because you can damage it. So, and I'm not going to be doing it too very loose in my style. I think with this. And it's very scribbly and sketchy the way I'm going to do this. It's just to suggest line work in it. I do like. I'm not a person who does an awful lot of this, but I do like this kind of work. But you can overdo it if you're not careful, and that's the tendency I have with this. So I'm practicing as much as I possibly can with this, and let's hope it all goes out okay. And it's as I'm doing it, it's really literally just basic line work. I'm not really doing huge amounts of anything with that. Now when I go to using some of the other some of the other ink, I'll be spreading it out a bit. Hope you can see this. And with regard to pen work, I might do a little bit of action there, just to suggest some kind of fall off of light there. But most of that tonal value work is going to be done with the water soluble inks. I'm not going to be doing too much with this. This is just to get some interesting line working. And detail and such like. some detail bits, points of interest. Obviously we're going to be going over a lot of this with this watercolour stuff. Making things that are closer to you a bit more obvious. I've got a thing that I forgot there. Another window with these shutters in them. They all seem to have shutters. And another one there. And I think I'm done with that. Apart from the odd little bit of shadow there. That's quite dark as well, so I'm gonna define that. And a bit of shadow suggested there. And I think for the time being that'll be that done, apart from obviously I've got to do this bit here. But that's going to be quite shaded. Right, so that's basically it done for the moment. We'll move on to the watercolour side of things and add colour to it. I'm ready to start painting. It's only a very small image, as you can tell by my hand and the image. I'm going to use the SAA paints I've got at watercolours obviously, and I'm going to be using a fairly small brush because it's only a tiny postcard sized image this. So and really what I'm thinking really is just light washes of things. So I'm going to, as is normal for watercolouring, start with the background and work my way forward. So let's see if we can get some interesting sky in here. You can always put a little bit of your sky into the building. Like, for example, anywhere where there might be silhouette or potential dark areas. Now, I can see there that there's going to be areas there. I will get myself some trusty just to give the sky a bit of an interest. There you go. Just drag that away a bit. It's not too much about doing overly flamboyant watercolour. You're trying to actually make it like an image that's more towards the pen work. So I get a basic dark wash in there. Anywhere that is dark, you get some colour in there. Very light, keeping it all nice and fresh. This part of the building here is almost white. Now I'm just going to into colour with it, but not too much. And the building next to it as well, that's got like a white kind of feel, but we're still going to into a little bit of colour in there. It has an area there that's under shade, and some more shaded areas there. See if I can take a little bit of that off. There you go. And while we're doing these colours, we can get some that bit there is slightly under shade because of the flowers. And start putting some of the vibrant greens in it as well now. I mean, this is where it's up to you, because you can put these and splat them in if you want. I'm going to leave it at that for the time being, because that's starting to get to a point where it wants to go where it too much. So, and we'll come back to that once it's dry. going to get a grey shading for the path here. So I would say that for the first wash is done. So we'll let this dry and then we'll move on to the next set of layers. While it's still ever so slightly wet, I'm going to add some strong yellowy, ochre and slightly orange colours into parts of this building. Also a little bit no, it's not orange, but it will dry a lot lighter, hopefully. And as we're going on in certain areas, just add a little bit of every one of that colour in various areas. And notice that some of the foliage around here has various bits of things like that. I'm not going to do too much because I don't want to make a mess of it at this stage. If I can get a little bit of that, that might be a bit too much. We've got that classic colour for roofs as well, which is nice. This might. If we're going to get a little bit of that, just to add interest in there. A bit more work with the green areas. best to try and be careful about how much work you do while it's still quite wet like this. But again, it's at a stage where I'd like to just leave it at the moment. But I think one thing I will do is dab that away. There you go. And it's all capable of doing this because the watercolour will not interfere with the Indian ink that's permanent. Now if I'd have used the water soluble ink, it would have just all blended into one another. So we're starting to get a painting that's getting there now, and got lots of nice interesting bits of colour in it. One area I've not worked on is this tree in the background, so we'll rectify that. Get your light areas in. And then get some darker green areas into that. I'll continue on with dealing with this tree. Two more bits here. And as you can see, there's a blue on the windows, on the shutters, so we've got to get them in. And I'm being really loose in the expression of this, and all of these buildings seem to have standardised blue window frames, which is a shame really, because they could have different colours, make them a bit more interesting. I think you get the mildest of colours. I can introduce a bit of that there. And add a tone of dark there. One bit I've not done yet or very much of. I'll leave that to dry again. Here's some ink that I'm going to use now. This is water soluble and you can re-wet it, so it will have a different effect to the other ink that I've put on before. And I'm not going to be putting it on with a brush. I'm going to use one of these, which is a ruling pen. You dip it into your ink and it makes slightly randomy kind of brush marks. As you can see, it's quite random, this pen, or ruling pen. And that's what we want, really. What you'll find eventually is that when we come to wash over this, it'll act like water does, and hopefully dissolve a little bit, because at the moment it's looking a little bit strong. We don't want it like that, really. Right. So what I'm now going to do is use the brush to dissolve some of this ink that I've applied out of the picture, so that we've not got too and it can blend a bit. I don't want that to happen everywhere, because there's certain areas like up here that are dark, but you notice how that's now softening away, and you can use that for tonal values. Because it literally just flows away like a watercolour would, which is good because you can make some real good combinations in that sense with it. One or two hard edges and one or two soft edges, combining it with the detail that we did with the permanent ink that's still there. I'm going to nip that away a bit. It's a bit too strong, that red. There you go. We're not particularly far off from completion here. A few bits of structural detail with it. See if I can nip that away so we've got a light area. Drop a bit of green in there. Some more of that. And I think that's where I'm going to leave it. The paintings are meant to be quite loose, so the drawing were done in a very loose and very quick manner. The permanent ink were very loosely sketched in. The watercolour, I tried to keep that to a point of it being fairly mixed in with one another, and then you get your non-permanent or water-based ink that helps with the tonal values. Again, that's quite loosely put in, and it's just a few finishing touches. I just leave this to completely dry, and then I might go back over some of the outlines with the permanent ink pen. Although I've just noticed that there, so let's... There you go. Right, we'll leave that to dry for a bit. Back to this fine tip pen, and we're going to re-emphasise some of the detail, and then that's this painting done. You can lose a little bit of the pen work under watercolour, so it's always good to have a once over with this again. And just generally re-emphasising the areas, nothing too technical. Over that bit a bit. Less and less detailed as you're going away, obviously. But we still need to. That's okay. Let's make sure that they. See if I can put some more sketch work there. Don't want to do too much here because I don't want to make it too strong, but that, I think I'm there. Just around this area I'll do a little bit more supposed brickwork. And that is the pen and wash artwork done. I'll put up a photo of the image once it's completely dry, and we'll add that to the video because the video doesn't really show the quality of the colour in the painting. So thank you for coming and watching this. I hope it's been instructional, and I'm really grateful also to the SAA for showing us that video earlier today. It was really instructional. Go over there and have a look at it. I'll put a link in the information section so that you can go and look at that video. And thank you for your time, and if you like these things, why not subscribe? Thank you. Bye.